Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the dev server and it's time to have a look at one of the big bangers that is coming in for the naval tech tree for America. This is the USS Tennessee, and as you can see, it is a thick boy. It is incredibly wide as a vehicle, which means that it's going to be quite a large target, but also at the same time, it's packed full of guns. This is a refit version of the Tennessee, specifically the 1943 version of it. It is a battleship, which is from much earlier than the Second World War, which is why it sports the 14-inch guns, and also why it has the standard superstructure. So this vehicle has 4 triple-mounted 14-inch Mark 11 cannons, 2 on the front, 2 on the back, so they have complete full coverage on the whole vehicle, which is really nice. So you can get a full-on broadside off, especially when people are going to clatter you with your general size. With this vehicle, you get a HE, which has access to a lot of explosive mass, but not a lot of pen, and then you have the round that you're actually going to use, because you'll be able to penetrate stuff with it. This is the APC-BC. It still has 10 kilos of TNT equivalent. It still has a lot of penetration. Doesn't have as much power as a lot of other guns around the place, and at the same time, with the American machines, it's kind of surprising, right? So when I have a look at the high tiers of blue water for America, we have the Arizona with its 14-inch guns, Texas with the 14s, 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 and then the 12s with the Alaska. If we have a look at somebody like Britain, they have the Hood with the 15s, the Marlboro with the 13.5s, even the Renown has the 15-inch guns, and then going over to Japan, you have the 360s, 410mm guns, which I believe are the 16 inches, and then you have the 36 centimeters as well, so you just have larger guns for the nations. So I don't know why America hasn't kind of had that step up when it comes to War Thunder, but this is another machine that is at the top of the naval tech tree for America that still is sitting on these 14 inches. Now, these are the better versions. You can see here, these are the 45s, the Mark 12s. This one is the 50 Mark 11s, so they are slightly different. So there is, slight differences between them, but not huge ones, especially if you compare them to other nations. So you can fire it at 1.2 rounds per minute, or 2 rounds per minute if you have an aced crew, so every 30 seconds, basically. Which isn't great, but one of the cool things about this vehicle is the refit nature of it. It does have a lot of secondaries that you can see on the vehicle, which are pretty cool to see. So not just the big 14-inch turrets, you also have the 5 inches on the side. So there are 4 dual mounts per each side of it, and then also you have 10 quad 40mm guns, so you can see them over here in the center of the kind of superstructure, and then also you have 43 single-mounted 20mm guns, which will encompass the vehicle with a lot of firepower and mean that no aircraft can come anywhere near you. And the question really is whether these guns are kind of useful for that nowadays, because whenever I see aircraft at this BR, it's usually stuff like Arados, for example, and you're kind of relying on the 5-inch guns to try and just donk them out of the air, and that's not always something that happens very good. And since this thing is so wide, it's going to be a big target for those machines at very high altitudes. So not sure how useful the 20s and the 40s will be, but we'll see. The vehicle has a belt of 343mm, which is fine. It has, on the waterline, 281mm. The front of the turrets is incredibly meaty, 457mm, which is sat there. It also has these 343mm rod-cemented armor plates on each side of the vehicle, so if you get hit here with a torpedo or anything else, it's going to get soaked up by this, which is kind of nice. And then also a little bit of armor around the steering gear, which will help it out too. You also have huge fuel tanks around the whole vehicle, and that basically means that it will give you an extra layer of protection, even though it will probably end up exploding the vehicle. And also, the other thing to mention is this kind of area here. If we remove the fuel and just kind of show like the propulsions and all of the other systems that are here. The internals, especially where the ammo is for them, is one of those areas which is going to be quite juicy for people to hit. Like, so the only thing between the armor and the ammo here is a fuel tank. So once that fuel tank is penetrated, this is going to go up like crazy. Same with this side. You can see how huge the ammo rack is for this side. So all you have to do is aim under the turrets, and you're going to get some pretty fantastic pops in terms of the ammo racks. There's not really much point in shooting the central area. You do have some fire control systems down here and radio stations and the engines. There's also a single funnel. Well, two funnels, but they're right next to each other, right? So it'll be much easier to slow this thing down, even if it's moving. And it doesn't really move at a fast pace anyway. The fire directors on it are on the turrets themselves. So you can see here the rangefinder, 85% accurate, 20 seconds and 12 to update, which is very poor. But it does have a proper fire director, which gives it 15 seconds on the calculation and 8 seconds on the update. So that's standard for this type of thing. There does seem to be a search radar on it as well, if you want to use that to find aircraft in the air. But generally, you know, you're worried about the fire directors, right? Then when it comes to the internal armor for the bridge and stuff like that, there really isn't too much there. You do have a very small bridge here for the vehicle, which is just in the front here. Don't know if there's a secondary one. There probably is somewhere, but this bridge only has 127 millimeters of armor, so it's a really small point to hit. But also at the same time, as a person who's had their bridge taken out over and over and over again, and they actually changed it last update, so you still have some control of your machine, which is nice. But at least now, with, you know, the changes that's here, if that gets taken out, you can still move, you can still you know, steer. It's just going to be a little bit harder to do than if it isn't taken out. So looking at this vehicle, is it going to be good? I mean, if you compare it to all of the other American vehicles, of course it's going to be good, because it has a lot of the similar factors, plus it also has, you know, the additional idea of the secondary armaments and a little bit more armor. The problem is, if you compare it to other nations which have larger guns, hit harder, and do all of these things better, then is it really in a good position? Is it something that is going to kind of take this game by storm? Is it going to be a new meta or a new standing compared to everything else? No, of course not. It's going to be something which is nice to see, but not something that's going to take anything by storm. And also, one of the things I didn't note is how slow the targeting speed on the turrets are. But that's also because my crew on the one that I picked isn't very good, so it will be better around the place. It does have a hydroplane, which is nice. On the back of it, it does get in the way of the gun, unfortunately, but, you know, it's nice to have something where you can capture zones using the Kingfisher and also using the bombs. But overall, you know, when you look at a vehicle like this, the main reason you use it is the guns. And I've never been very impressed with the American guns because of the fire rates and also because of the caliber. Hopefully at some point it will get to a point where these guns and these machines, or just the American tech tree in general, get some larger calibers. But at the moment, it's not there yet. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.